Hi, I'm Christina Applegate.
And I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
And this is
Messy. The following message is brought to you by Novartis. Hi, I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler. When it comes to relapsing MS treatments, your choice matters. That's why talking to your doctor about your options is a big deal. But how do you know what to ask? Figuring that out can be daunting. That's why I partner with Novartis to create an MS treatment decision guide. It's packed with helpful info and questions for your doctor to help make an informed decision. Trust me, the more prepared you are, the more confident you'll feel. Download the guide right to your phone only at treatmentdecisionguide.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Messy. This is Jamie. I have my
half asleep Christina.
My half asleep co-pilot, Christina. That's why we have co-pilots, right?
Yeah, because this would not be a good thing if it was just one.
I'm gonna.
If I was in charge of the ship, this would be really, really bad. Right?
I got you,
Sorry,
girl.
guys. MS fatigue, MS nap. You know how it is.
Most of the people listening to this know.
Yeah, you can't hear alarms. You can't. Anyway. All right.
Well, we have a guest today, so you don't need to take much of this load yet, my co-anchor here, because today we have someone I'm really excited to talk with, and about. I got to meet her, like a year and a half ago. She was a Christmas present to me from my husband to work with her, which was just
so
the most
cute.
thoughtful, wonderful present you could ever get. We have Gretchen Hawley. She is a physical therapist and an MS certified specialist. She has developed programs for patients and existing clinics to help people increase the quality of their lives through her science-backed exercises. She is so thoughtful and caring. She's helped over 40,000 people improve their lives and independence. And I have to say, her dedication to the MS community kind of makes me emotional and inspires me because I think when people aren't personally touched by a chronic illness or a disease, but then dedicate their lives to help those, it's a really special person in this world. So please welcome to Messy, Gretchen Hawley.
Yes, Dr. Gretchen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited. I started following you on Instagram and I was like, to Jamie, I said, hey, this woman's like incredible. Do you know her? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, well.
Yeah, we DM each other back and forth as if we weren't already seeing your posts. Like, we'll get into this, but the way that you can express and like define what we are feeling like is better than the way I can describe it, and is really helpful to be able to communicate to others, to your family members, to your friends, to those around you, and even to yourself what is actually going on. So let's take it back to the beginning first, Gretchen. Can you just give our audience a little bit of a background of your story and how you got involved in the work you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and also, I don't want to forget to say this, your podcast has been so helpful. I hope you know how impactful it is. As you've mentioned, I've treated so many people with MS virtually and in person. And so it's really easy for me to see that a lot of these symptoms and experiences are common, but when you're the person experiencing it, it can feel really alone and like you're the only one experiencing it. And so it's easy for me to see that others aren't alone in these symptoms or experiences, but they don't feel that. But your podcast allows people to feel that, and they feel seen and heard and less alone. And I think that is so powerful because I'm just one person and I can say, hey, you're not alone in that. But to believe it and know that there are others out there feeling that too is completely different, and it's so much more impactful. So I'm so glad you guys decided to host this podcast. It's been so amazing. I am a physical therapist, and I feel so fortunate in that my first year of being a practicing physical therapist, my company that I was working for wanted to open a multiple sclerosis clinic. And at the time, I didn't know a whole lot about MS because a lot of physical therapy programs, they touch on MS one day. It's like one of lots of neurodiagnoses. And it's definitely not a deep dive. But I remembered liking all of my neuro-based classes, and I knew MS. I knew the basics about it, and that it had something to do with our neurological system. And so I kind of randomly was just like, yeah, I'll run this. But I'm the type of person where I'm going to go all in. And I knew this was a population who needed a different type of treatment, a different level of care. And I wasn't willing to just use orthopedic strategies for people with MS. And that became super evident. My first two patients, they were both around the same age, and they were actually around my age, which at the time I believe was like 24. They had the same type of MS, vastly different symptoms. And they had both been to physical therapy, and it didn't help them. And that was my first thought of there has to be a different way. I know we're working with a different condition here that's very much not the same as orthopedic injuries, which is typically where a lot of people with MS end up going to for physical therapy. So that's when I decided I'm going to become an MS specialist. I'm going to do that training. And it was the best thing ever because it's the same test that a neurologist would have to take if they also wanted to become an MS specialist, meaning it was really diverse. So I had to know everything for this exam of all the different symptoms, medications for the symptoms, treatment strategies, medications for treatments, nutrition. And what that did for me was it allowed me to have a deep understanding of the full picture so that I could ask better questions to my patients and, of course, develop better treatment plans and exercises and whatnot. But I became the MS specialist through that organization. And then ever since then, I've just continued treating even more and more people with MS. And it's been absolutely rewarding. I'm so proud of myself back then for saying like, yeah, I'll do it, to something that I really wasn't that confident in and then learned along the way.
I think a lot of people that I mean, I don't know, but Jamie, if you experience this, like getting a physical therapist, right? So it's the thing that your neuro goes, okay, now you got to get
Uh-huh.
stronger. And they just do the same shit without realizing that this is a neurological disorder. And we've
Right.
got to check out those patterns and those like neurons. And that's like the difference. And that's why I love watching, you because I see you. Well, obviously, that like this is like we have to rewire
Yes.
and you can't just like do a bunch of squats to get strong. Like you have to rewire what your brain thinks about squats. And
Hmm.
does your brain know how to do a squat? And then anyway, I'm half asleep still, but I love you, and that's what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, it's such an important point to make, though, because a lot of people, and this isn't to anyone's fault, because I think we just don't know. A lot of people aren't aware that when you have MS, yes, you do have weak muscles, but it's not just a muscular issue, it's the nerve issue. And so that's why a lot of traditional physical therapy doesn't necessarily help people with MS or other nerve-based chronic illnesses because the issues in the nerve. So we have to work on exercises that activate the nerves so that then the muscles can get strong. But if you're just focusing on leg strengthening exercises, it's less likely to have an impact.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on like the power plate? Because I know that I can't even do anything unless I get on it before, like before I do anything. Like it gives me like a confidence, or I don't know, wakes everybody up. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jamie.
absolutely.
You're like, I want to talk to my friend.
No, please.
Okay.
I've had lots of time to talk to Gretchen.
Okay.
This is your time
I
to
just
get
was
to
wondering because it
ask.
really is kind of amazing, and it really helps me to like because it starts to get the little brain to like shake up. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so a lot of what I share is research based. I never want to just share like, oh, I think this is helpful or not. But research actually does show that vibration therapy can be extremely beneficial for lots of different things, from waking up the nerves. So everything that you're saying is very valid, and research does show that to be true. It can help with spasticity. But one unique thing that the research shows about any type of vibration plate is that the best one is one that vibrates up and down versus just side to side or back and forth. You want it to be going up and down against gravity. That's specifically the type of vibration that might be the best for waking up the nerves, waking up the muscles, balance, spasticity, things like that.
Oh man. Now I've got like these big machines in my head. Now I'm like, I gotta get a back
Well,
and
maybe
forthy guy now.
maybe yours does your not do that? It doesn't go up
A
and
lot
down?
of them have multiple settings.
I have two. Well, I've got, like I said, I that's the brand that I said is what I
Yeah.
have, and I've got the one like little one for my bedroom, and then I have the Big Daddy-O with the screen on it down in my gym, and I don't think it does that. So now I'm like, damn. Okay, sorry, that's just my own horror in my own head that now I need something else in my
Let
house.
me just also share, any vibration therapy can still be helpful. That's just what's been shown to be most helpful. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to work if you don't have that up and down version.
Right, right. So, a lot of our listeners are newly diagnosed. A lot of our listeners have been living with this for decades, like me. I can speak from experience, right? Lived with this disease for almost 24 years. I can go through moments where I'm like super loyal and super into my practice, and then I can kind of burn out or get sort of, or you can sort of get disappointed that things aren't moving fast enough. Or if you're newly diagnosed, you could just be super overwhelmed with the diagnosis in general, and you don't know where to begin. Whether you're newly diagnosed or in the middle of it and you're starting out again, where would you advise somebody to begin this journey with these exercises? What is the mindset they need? What are the simple exercises or things to start with? Because it can be really overwhelming, right? There's so much information out there that sometimes it's too much that you just want to go lay back down because it feels like you'll never be able to do it.
Absolutely. And I love the way, because I was going to say something and then you just took the words out of my mouth, which was, it's two things. It's the mindset and then it's the exercises. If you don't work on both, a lot of people might jump to just the exercises, like go, 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 especially if you're type A, like myself. But that's not going to do anything if you don't have the right mindset and understand and set realistic expectations. For the mindset, I think it's really important to remember any movement counts. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you don't know where to start, I can't express this enough. Getting out of bed counts as exercise. Showering is like a marathon when it comes to exercises. Getting dressed, pouring a bowl of cereal, like all these things. Picture your day from the moment you wake up. Anytime you move, that counts. And I think it's so important to recognize that, because oftentimes when we don't think about that, it feels like we're not doing enough or we're not doing anything at all. When in reality, even just going from lying down in bed, if you're having a day where it's just a bed day, propping yourself up, you had to use your muscles, you had to use your abs to scoot your way up there, your arms to lift yourself up. Having that mindset will make you feel so much more, I don't know if confident is the right word, but able and maybe even proud because you're doing something. And those feelings are more likely to help you stay consistent for the long run versus, okay, did my exercises today and then I'm not going to do anything for the rest of the month. So that's the mindset. In terms of exercises, again, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you don't know where to start, my favorite thing to do is ask you, what is one activity that you want to feel easier? And maybe it's standing up from the couch. Maybe it's putting pants on. Maybe it's reaching in a cupboard, whatever it is. What is one thing that you want to feel a bit easier? And then do that thing as an exercise, but in a modified way. So if your goal is, like, if you're noticing it takes me 5 times to attempt to stand up because I just can't get my balance, I can't stand up well the first time, then practicing standing up and sitting down with a pillow under you or from a higher surface so it's easier, practicing that as an exercise is a really great place to start because it's directly related to something that you want to improve, but we're modifying it so that it's doable and not just reminding you of how weak your muscles might be.
That's so incredibly important and helpful. I mean, I think for people to go back to the mindset of like, to feel proud of yourself that you did anything, I think like that goes back to, the post that you make that Christina and I send each other all the time of just being able to acknowledge your efforts as opposed to focusing constantly on what you can't do anymore or what is hard. I think so often just beat ourselves up of just not doing enough or not doing enough exercises, and as opposed to recognizing how much we're doing with the amount that's stacked against us. And I think that's what really sets you apart from a lot of other people that are in your field. Here's a quick word from one of Messi's advertisers. When I got diagnosed with relapsing MS, there were a million things going through my head. What can I do? What does this mean for my life? I felt completely powerless, and I think that's normal. But you can't stay there. The important thing is not to give up. You can take back control, and that starts by figuring out what matters to you and finding your voice. Speaking up helped me, and it can help you too. I partnered with Novartis to create a 3-step guide to inspire people with MS to advocate for their needs and find the right treatment for them. Learn more about my story and get the 3-step guide at reframingms.com.
Support for Messy comes from ZocDoc. So when was the last time you needed to go to the doctor, but you push it off? Many of my friends do this. It's crazy to me. You make the excuse, I'm too busy. It'll heal on its own. Wah, wah, probably won't. I don't need help. I don't know which doctor to go to. I've got issues with my blah-de-blah and my blah-de-blah and my blah-de-blah. Those are actual excuses. Blah-de-blahs. I am a big proponent of being a hypochondriac, which is not a bad word. It means that you're listening to your body. And I think that when you know something, guys, you gotta go. So what's really great about ZocDoc is that you can just look on that thing and you can find a person that specializes in, the ailment that you're feeling and book a due, and great ratings of all these places, whether it's a swollen, itchy eye or a funny looking rash. Wow, that's a bad Saturday night. Tight pain in your neck, not a good one. Persistent cold that won't go away. Also, guys, it's not just allergies sometimes. Call the doctors.
ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and then click instantly to book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care, urgent care, and more. You can filter the doctors who take your insurance. You can find the good fit, and once you find it, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works for you, and click instantly to book a visit. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and sometimes you can even score same-day appointments.
So listen, stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/messy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/messy, ZocDoc.com/messy.
One story that always comes to my mind as I'm talking about this with others is I was working with someone and her daughter was living at home with her, and her daughter was sick, and so she was quarantining, so she had to stay upstairs. And so my patient that I was working with was going up and down the stairs multiple times a day, bringing her food, Kleenexes, like whatever she needed. And so at the end of the week, her and I had a call, and she was like, Dr. Gretchen, I'm embarrassed to say I did nothing this week. Like my daughter was sick. I was taking care of her. And she was feeling so disappointed in herself. And all I said was, how many times a day do you think you went up and down those stairs to help your daughter? And she was like, 20 times. I'm like, that, first of all, stairs in itself is, oh, that's an
They
amazing exercise.
they
But
suck.
yeah,
They suck
yeah,
because of the gravity. When people are like, I have to put stuff that should be in the kitchen on what we call purgatory because I can't carry anything down the stairs because of the gravity. But I mean, in speaking to that, like my daughter, I think sometimes she asks me to do stuff for her, like go refill her water and stuff like that, almost to make me get up and do these things. I can see it in her eyes, almost like a little test, like, no, but I want it the way that you make it, Mom.
Mhm.
Because I think she knows that okay, it's stair time and I'm going to be carrying things up on a tray. And yes, she eats in her room on a tray. I'm sorry, everybody, but
yeah.
she,
But like
like that.
those things, those daily movements are so powerful, especially because a lot of people who exercise with MS feel like it has to all be at one time, but you might not have the energy to do that or the availability based on what your lifestyle is, your personality type, so many reasons. But research actually shows that doing movements and exercises throughout the day is equally as beneficial as all at once. And I personally feel like doing them throughout the day, doing just movements, going to get water, going to make your daughter lunch, going to climb the stairs, even just a single step, that tells your brain that you want to be using your muscles throughout the day, not just in the morning when you do your routine. So I love that. And talk about functional exercise, which is exercising in a way to improve those daily activities. The best thing is to do those daily activities.
And also, I think it's just such a life lesson in general of like starting small, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just want to stand up better, right? It's not like I want to walk a mile. Sure, we all would love to be able to walk a mile or two easy and chat with our friends and not think about every step and look out at nature and enjoy the world. But like, let's start small because I can only
Mhm.
imagine that seeing an improvement in just something very small can motivate you then to the next step and the next step. Is that how you find a lot of your patients, improve is just accomplishing one goal at a time?
Absolutely. And there's a really amazing book called The Gap and the Gain. And the idea is that if you're looking just at your big goal, so let's say you do have a goal of walking a mile, or even like walking from your car to the baseball field on uneven surfaces. That's a big goal. There's so many factors. So if you're only looking at where you are now to that goal, you're looking at the gap, like how far do you have to go? But if you're looking at it from, well, I used to be able to only make it from my car to the grass well, and now I can make it halfway on the grass, you're looking more at the gain, like how much have you gained? And research has shown that you're much more likely to actually reach your goals and see better progress when you're looking at it through the gain. I'm constantly reminding people to think small. And it's so funny because so often when I'm working with people, they'll tell me the tiniest of wins. And I get this huge smile on my face. And they're like, why are you smiling so big? Like, this is nothing. But it is something, especially when you have a chronic illness. Every tiny little thing matters. And as again, we're talking about mindset, acknowledging that can be so powerful for staying consistent with whatever it is that you need to do to reach your goals.
Absolutely. And another thing with MS is I think, and I'm sure you find it's like, is it a cold or is it MS? Is it, a UTI or is it MS? And something I think that's like on the topic of everyone's brain, at least women and probably men because they're victims of it, is menopause. And you did a whole thing about, is this menopause? Is this MS? And also how they are connected. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like we're talking all the time about perimenopause and menopause and the profound effects that they have on our body, and particularly a very sensitive body when you live with something like MS.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, there are so many things that could make you wonder, is this MS or is it something else? And Sometimes doctors will just say, oh, it's MS. And that's almost like the easy answer because, like, well, you're already on medications for that, or we're already doing something for that. But in reality, it might not be MS and it might be something that is treatable, or, there's a different treatment strategy for a UTI is a great example. A lot of people might experience worsened symptoms such as fatigue or weakness, vision changes, balance, and they didn't know it, but they had a UTI. And the same can go for menopause, especially perimenopause. And if you don't know that you're in it yet, so many symptoms. I was just at an MS conference and they listed like 15 symptoms of MS that are also symptoms of menopause. And so not just that, but one really common symptom in MS is heat intolerance. And that's when your core temperature rises by at least a quarter of a degree, which is so little. And menopause can cause your core temperature to rise, which can make any symptom worse. So there's a lot of overlap. And if you are near or in perimenopause, I think it's really important to ask yourself, could this be something other than MS? And that often requires tracking your symptoms that you're having. And research shows that if it's a symptom that continues on for more than 2 weeks or so, more likely than not, it's menopause, not just MS.
That's really helpful and important to think about. Did you want to say something, Christina?
I don't know. Because I'm like, I have all of those things. I've been in menopause since 2017. And also was kind of misdiagnosed with UTIs this last year, like many of them. And finally went to a urologist. She's like, you don't have UTIs. And they kept putting me on stuff. So it's just completely not what you were just saying. I'm just saying that's what was happening to me. But it was probably from our lack of motility and that like our incontinence and stuff can cause like the blood test to show or urine test to show whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It wasn't a
Yes.
UTI, guys. Make sure. Sometimes it's like something else, and it could be from the fact that we have issues with our bladders as well. Hold on to bacteria.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that when it comes to MS, it's possible to have symptoms for two different reasons. So one would be like a primary symptom, which means it's caused from MS. It's caused from the disease process. There is a neurological thing happening due to demyelination that's causing that, like bladder symptoms and a bunch of others. But then there's secondary symptoms, which means it's not directly caused from MS. It's due to heat intolerance or stress or the weakness that you have. So it's really important to understand, I think, which category it is because they're treated completely differently.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say about the heat intolerance. So many people don't understand this, and I know our MS people do. But like when people are like, come on outside, it's so beautiful out. And you're like, no. Absolutely. And it even hurts on the inside because it's swelling the wood on your house, which is swelling your brain. I mean, it's such a weird thing, but people don't get that like we are physically affected by heat, even if we're not outside.
Oh,
when
absolutely.
It's hot outside, it's so bizarre because like it's really hot here today. And I think that's why I was sleeping so deeply just now, among other things. But like I could feel it like in my hands, like that outside is sticky and gross.
Yeah, even if you're inside in air conditioning, if you have heat intolerance, especially if you're really sensitive to heat intolerance, but even if you're not, even being inside in air conditioning can make your symptoms worse. And it's so important to discuss that because a lot of people don't know that and they just assume maybe they're having a relapse or it's maybe a UTI or like something else is going on. And if you know that it's heat intolerance, or even if you just assume, oftentimes cooling your core temperature down by sipping ice water, if you're able to take that cold of water, putting on a cooling vest, getting in front of a fan, those things can help. But I even have some patients who don't have heat intolerance, they have sun intolerance. So even in the wintertime, if the sun is shining on them, their symptoms will flare.
Oh, wow.
Everyone is so different.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say that, and you are such a well of information for this for people, is that and maybe I know this because I've lived with this for so long too, that with each symptom, though, there is a lot of technology and there are a lot of tools out there to help, though, like a cooling vest. And I kind of, for lack of a better word, like raw dogged it for so long of just kind of like grinding through my symptoms until I finally accepted what I had and that I could have some help, like a cane, like a neck fan. Like, you start to get to this point where you're like, I want to still fully participate in my life. And I have to accept my circumstances, so I have to accept some help. And there are a lot of things. What are some of the things that you have found, in your work and in your research that have been really helpful for people? Because there's so many devices out there. There's so many, it can be very overwhelming.
It's so many. I do think a cooling device of some kind, and I hate using that word device, it sounds so medical, but a cooling product of some kind is always good to have on hand. You never know if you have heat intolerance, or even if you've never had heat intolerance before, but now you do. It's just good to have something on hand. For that, I really do like a cooling vest. There's lots of different brands out there. I really like one called Thermapparel because it's super lightweight and it's designed for you to wear under your clothes. And I have found that if you're able to wear it under your clothes, people are more likely to wear it because it's not obvious that you're wearing a cooling item. So I really like that one. It's very lightweight. There's another product, Polar Products, I believe it's called, that also has cooling vests, but they also have cooling. Oh my gosh, I don't know exactly what they're called, but they're little gel packs that you can put in your bra and it keeps your boobs nice and cold. And then that can keep the rest of your body nice and cold. There's cooling wristbands. So I really like cooling products and a neck fan. Mobility aids of any kind, whatever you feel comfortable with, is on the top of my list. That's probably number one, because so often it's kind of like a catch-22. People assume, well, if I use a mobility aid, I'm not going to be getting stronger, and I want to be getting stronger. But both can happen at the same time. You can get stronger and use a mobility aid. As long as you're using your mobility aid for light assistance and you're not depending on it more than you need to, it's very unlikely that you'll become dependent on it. So use it on the days that you need to. It doesn't mean you're going to need to use it every day, but using one trekking pole. Trekking poles look more sporty, so people tend to go for those first. Or 2 trekking poles, 1 cane, a really cool rollator that's lightweight. Like whatever helps you feel like it fits your personality and it doesn't feel like a medical device that you got from the hospital can be really important. And then the third one in my top 3, I would probably say, and this I guess would only really be for people who have foot drop. There are lots, I shouldn't say lots. There's a handful of ankle braces that can help with foot drop. And of course, you want to be doing ankle and leg strengthening exercises for foot drop as well. But those take time. It might take weeks or months or even a year before you see those improvements. So in the meantime, you can wear an ankle brace that assists in lifting your toes up so that you're not tripping and falling in a safety risk even in your own home. So again, there's tons. Those are the first 3 that come to my mind.
Do you have is there a preference between an ankle brace and like one of those like Bioness or like stim, things that you can
wear? About the pulse device stuff. Remember, Jamie, and you keep going like, does this work? But we got to ask a
or is it just or is it just different for everyone, right? Because I think, as you probably know, there's so many like people with MS were like, tell us the thing that works. Because you see one person and it looks like a miracle happened before your eyes, and then you try it and it's not working for you, which can be really frustrating.
Jamie and I love seeing miracles, the miracles that haven't happened to us, but have happened out there in the world. We're like, really? What did we do karmically that we didn't have no miracle? Sorry.
What am I doing wrong?
What am I doing?
Yeah, it is different for every person. I like ankle braces because, and when I say ankle brace, just so if you're a visual person like me, what I'm talking about is a brace that goes around your ankle And then there's a few different versions, but one is a really thick rubber band that you pull down to hooks that are on the eyelets of your shoe. Or another one is strings that you pull down to hooks on the eyelets of your shoe. And I like those because they assist in lifting your foot. Whereas AFOs, or ankle foot orthosis or ankle foot orthoses, those work oftentimes by preventing movement. So it's a big difference. One is preventing movement, and that's why you don't have foot drop. And then another one is assisting movement, and that's why you don't have foot drop. So I'm more leaning towards the ones that assist. When it comes to electrical stimulation, though, I do really like those, especially the ones that you can wear. I think it's going to be different for each person, though, because if you are someone who does need a little extra oomph, those electrical stimulation ones might be a better fit because, yeah, go ahead, Christina.
I was going to say this because I want to know the difference, because when I was first not feeling well 4 years ago and they thought it was just peripheral neuropathy, I was treated a lot with like electrical stim, like sending things into my body, which in essence, I think we all kind of know that actually makes things worse by kind of zapping, if there's like zaps going in, not necessarily like a shaking or a pulse, but like you guys, what's the word? It's got a zap. It zaps you with electrical current. It's a current. I'm so on top of my shit today. Okay,
No,
so
but it
and I know
hit
that
you
I
well.
got worse from it. So that's what I want to ask you, like some of these things that you see that like there's a woman on the Instagram who's got MS and she swears by them, the little ones that you put on your leg that kind of just it feels like it's just like a vibration kind of thing as opposed to sending in a current. That's what that's what I'm talking about.
The pulse.
Yeah. Well, and one thing too, and I will say, I haven't looked into the pulse device too much yet, but from what I gather, and I don't want to say anything incorrect, but I don't think it's electrical stimulation. Do you know, or do they advertise that it is electrical stimulation?
I don't think it is. I think it's more of like feedback. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I even notice sometimes, like when I'm driving, if I put my hand on the outside of my right knee and just give it that feedback or whatever it is, my foot moves better from the pedal, from the brake to the gas. Like it's like these little things. So I'm wondering if it's like that type of science.
Yeah. I do think it has more to do with sensation and awareness, just like what you're saying, Jamie. And so again, that's going to really differentiate who it's good for. If you're someone who needs assistance and therefore electrical stimulation, which gets your nerves working.
We all needed some electrical stimulation, Gretchen. Sorry.
So if you need that, then the pulse device probably is not going to make that much of a difference. But if you don't need that, then it might make a world of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Support comes from Mudwater. Mudwater has an OG blend of cacao, chai, turmeric, and adaptogenic mushrooms that help you feel focused without a crash. And the best part, let me tell you how I like it. I like it over ice.
How do you like it, Jamie?
I like it over ice. I mix it with cold water, sometimes milk. I shake it up, pour it over the ice, and boom, I have my most refreshing feel-good boost that actually helps me stay balanced. Every single ingredient in Mudwater is 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There is also 0 sugar and no sweeteners added. We're putting this in place of coffee. Coffee just doesn't hit everybody right, but sometimes we feel brain fog. Sometimes we feel jitters from it. Sometimes we feel like we need that good, sustainable energy without the spikes and crash, and that's where Mudwater comes in. Each ingredient in Mudwater serves a purpose. There's the hint of caffeine, it has like a hot chocolatey-like flavor. The lion's mane's in there for focus. The cordyceps are there to promote natural energy. They also have matcha. They also have turmeric. And they also have a rest kit where basically You can use it to help you unwind, help your sleep quality. You relax into these like nutty rooibos, floral, chamomile, chai spices for a cozy end to the day. You know what I'm saying?
But also that lion's mane, man,
Yeah,
that's the wave of the future right now.
it is. It
Let's
is.
jam with that.
So
Let's
you
jam with
ready to
some
make
lion's
the
mane.
switch to come cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code MESSY.
That's right. It's up to 43% off with code MESSY at mudwtr.com. Guys, there's no E that you read. Just remember that. It's Mudwater. That's how I like to say it, like en français. Mudwater.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them. Please show your support and let them know that Messy sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with Mudwater, because life's too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy.
Support for Messy comes from Beam. Let's talk about sleep, guys. We talk a lot about sleep here and the different ways to help you with sleep, because sleep isn't just about rest. Sleep is when your body repairs, it restores, and resets. And listen, you can do all the right things. You can eat clean, you can move your body, you can meditate, you can hydrate. But if you are not sleeping well, it's like trying to build a house on a cracked foundation. And sleep has not come easy for me in my life. Sometimes I go through stretches where I'm just like laying there for hours, my mind is racing, and I know that my body is going to pay for it the next day. And it doesn't matter what else I'm checking off in my wellness routine. If I am not sleeping, I am not functioning. And that's why I rely on Beam's Dream Powder. It's a healthy nighttime blend designed for people who take their sleep health seriously. It has science-backed ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. So Beam's Dream Powder is formulated to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up sharp, has no grogginess like other sleep aids can give you. It's just clean, effective support for real recovery.
So listen up, guys. Right now, Beam is offering up to 40% off their best-selling Dream Powder for our listeners. It's perfect timing to lock in your summer sleep strategy. Go to shopbeam.com/messy and use code MESSY at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/messy and use code MESSY for up to 40% off. Grab the deal and give your sleep the same attention you give the rest of your health today, because honestly, if you don't sleep, all the other stuff goes burp, 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 burp.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my professional opinion.
So we've talked a lot about the physical body. Can we talk a little bit about food? I know that that's not your specialty, but I know that, we've also, seen and heard stories of people having miraculous recoveries from drastically changing their diets. We've also heard from people that have done that and have seen not many changes within their body.
Not if you're a vegetarian, Jamie.
Well,
Vegetarians,
that's hard to take on
we
that
got to live with
diet.
it. We just got to live with that MS.
But are there?
It's spiteful against vegetarians. Sorry. Sorry. Gretchen, this is what I'm here for.
I love it.
I think sometimes, you can get frustrated with the parameters in which you're being told, like you have to live and you have to eat. But also, so I've tried to shift my mindset of being more like, I just want to be healthy, like not even just about MS. Like I just want to take care of myself as anybody would and want to. But are there any certain foods or any certain dietary restrictions that you have found have been really helpful, like amongst a lot of your patients, that you could recommend for people with MS that are overwhelmed with all of the diets and tips and tricks and things like that?
So I'll tell you what the research shows, and then I'll tell you from personal experience with my patients. So research shows that there is not any diet that is better than another, but that a general, as you just said, a general healthy diet is really what you want to be aiming for. And it sounds like that's not the answer that you want, but a lot of people are not eating a general healthy diet. And we actually just had a registered dietitian in my program to talk to my members, and she said that according to MS research at this time, it's the basics. It's getting enough fiber. I believe it was like 30 grams or something a day. And she said on average, the average American is getting not even half of that every day. So making sure you're getting enough fiber, enough vegetables, enough fruits from all different colors, like not just green things. There's different nutrients in every different color of the vegetables and fruits, making sure you're hydrated enough. Complex carbs, like those basics is what likely will be best for MS. But as of right now, there's lots of different diets out there, and diet is always the most heated discussion anytime I go to an MS support group and someone mentions diet, because as you said, someone's tried this and it worked wonders. Someone else who stuck to it just as religiously didn't help at all. Now, anecdotally, I will say that from my patients, low sodium, which is a general healthy diet thing to do as well, but sodium does tend to impact symptoms the most. I have a lot of patients who can tell when they've had too much sodium because a symptom is worse.
Well, if you think about when you have too much soy sauce or whatever, your
Yeah.
hands get swollen.
Exactly.
Well, our brain gets swollen, or wherever we have our brain herpes. That's what I call them. You think about, like, if you're swelling your hands, everybody's swelling up, and
Yeah.
that really messes with. It's the same thing with the heat. Like, it's that swelling thing that like really messes with you. I was gonna say maybe people need to go on my diet, which is instant mashed potatoes. That when I put spinach in them, but they're delicious, guys. And I've actually been feeling so much. But I also have gastroparesis, which is like one of the most
Ooh,
horrible
yeah, that's
stomach
awful.
conditions you could have. I live at Cedars-Sinai. I
Yeah.
call it my pied-à-terre because I'm there so often. It's my little apartment in Paris.
Ugh.
Anywho, I don't know what I'm talking. I'm talking about instant
We're
mashed
talking
potatoes, guys.
sodium.
It's
Yeah.
and it's really buttery and really salty, but I feel much better.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
them.
and everyone, again, I hate this answer because it's really not helpful, but everyone is so different. Like some
Yeah.
people truly
Yeah.
might feel better after mashed potatoes. Like truly they might feel like more energized. I know some of my patients will be able to walk better after they've had an alcoholic beverage versus before. So like
Isn't that the case?
But I
Like, you're
find
doing it, you're walking better, and then all of a sudden you're not walking better.
yeah. Well, she said
There's
one.
yes.
yes, one, not like 50.
Right.
But that's actually feels that makes me feel good in my body hearing that. And that feels really empowering because that gives you an opportunity to be like, oh, I can listen to my body and figure out what works for me. That feels less constrictive. That feels less rigid. That feels like you're living life more, right? Like you can sort of like be in a better flow with your own body and your own needs as opposed to like, this is what you have to do and this is how you have to do it. Which can be really overwhelming. And I imagine like can only layer on to the fatigue that you're already feeling from the disease itself. So I really like hearing you say that.
And stressing out. Hi, guys.
Right. Exactly.
What's number one?
Yes.
What's the
Yeah.
number one fucker of our disease is stressing out.
Yeah.
So why do we want to stress out? You got to, we all know that like the second we have something, oh, okay, there goes my fingers. They feel weird today. Thank you, stress or person that's a
Right.
dick. Sorry, Gretchen, I cuss a lot.
No. Well, and one thing that I've heard too, for anyone who is like, okay, well, I'm going to try low sodium or I'm going to try whatever plan feels good for me. I have heard that you should try to stick to it for 3 months before analyzing if it's helping or not.
Right.
A lot of the times we quit too soon and it might actually be helpful for you, but we just didn't do it long enough to actually reap those benefits.
I did gluten-free for 4 months. And normally I would have in the past, I had done it like 3 weeks, maybe a month. And I'm like, I'm feeling no different. I'm out.
Yeah.
And after I did it for 4 months, I was like, this works for me.
Mhm.
It does. It does. And when I cheat or when I'll have a little gluten or I'll be on a vacation and have it for a couple of days, I feel it. So it's it's an opportunity for me to really like understand my body and its needs. And I had to give myself those few months to really know.
Yeah. And I actually was working with an acupuncturist once, and she was saying that specifically for gluten, but I imagine it might be similar for other, like maybe dairy or other ingredients, is that it takes 3 months of not having something for it to truly leave your system. So maybe that correlates to that 3-month
Yeah,
guideline.
that makes sense. There's so many things we want to talk about with you that we have to jam into this hour. So one thing I got really excited about seeing on your Instagram page was this course that you're making, where you are basically taking all of the research and all of this information about medications and advancements and studies about MS and basically dumbing it down for all of us to finally understand. So can you please tell our listeners about it and when it will be available? Because I'm really excited for this.
We're really
Yeah.
excited about the myelin repair
Oh,
possibility.
of course.
Oh
That's
my!
the
I started
goal, right?
crying, Gretchen. I was like, if that could happen, oh my God, please. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the lecture that I was most excited about because I feel like that's the one that gives the most hope. So, yeah, that, and funnily enough, that lecture, so this conference that I went to was 3 full days, and that one was standing room only. Literally, like you could not find a seat
Well, that's
anywhere.
the dream, right? That's
Yeah.
the hope. That's the cure, maybe, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, I have found, well, there's just so much happening in research now in so many different areas. And I find that it's really empowering to know what is happening and what might be coming. But oftentimes, it's in scientific journals and research journals or these 90-plus minute lectures. And really shared in a way where it's just a lot of medical jargon. Like they're sharing the results of this was greater than P equals 0.5, which means blah, blah, blah. And it's a lot to understand. And so I'm a huge advocate for knowing what's going on in research, but I like to break it down so that it just makes sense. Because a lot of this stuff, too, is maybe not the most important details. Like, we just want to know, like, tell me the key takeaways. What do I need to know about this? So that's what I'm doing in this course. And I went to so many lectures. Oh my gosh, I totaled up the number of hours. And I think it was like 27 hours of lectures that I was sitting in. I had over 50 pages of notes. And so there's 10 different topics. The one I'm most excited about, as you guys, is the remyelination. But we touch on that. There's one on menopause, genetics in MS, vaccines you might want to be considering if you have MS, exercises and mobility and spasticity updates, BTK inhibitors, which is a specific type of disease-modifying therapy, complementary therapies. So just really across the board, different ways to be managing MS and what research is showing to be true about that. So yeah, it launches on July 21st. So I just finished recording all of the presentations. Now we're kind of working on all the other stuff.
I'm
slide
so
decks.
excited. I'm signing up. That's what's
Can't
happening.
wait.
Yeah, I
So
can give you
excited.
guys the link if you wanted to share it.
Oh, we'll get a little.
Thank you. Yes, we will
I
share
don't know
it
how
with-
to share links, so it's going to be on Jamie
I got you.
because she's
We'll share it with our
younger
messy
than I am.
community and
I don't know how to do it.
We'll share it with our messy community for
Yes,
sure.
please.
But speaking of our messy community, we got so many questions for you. People were just dying to be able to have like access to you to answer their questions. And some I'm seeing you've actually already answered in our talk today, which is great. But we got a couple about red light therapy. What are your feelings about red light therapy? We're hearing so much about it. So a lot of people wanted to know about that.
Yeah. So research is showing that red light therapy can be helpful for fatigue. And anecdotally, there's been a lot of people with MS trying red light therapy for specific muscles. And they have found that not that it helped improve strength, but it helped improve comfort in those areas. There was actually a randomized control trial that looked at just one person and their ankle dorsiflexors, which are the muscles on the front of your ankle that can cause foot drop, that muscle worked better after red light therapy.
Meaning red light therapy on that area of the body
Yes.
or just in
Okay.
general on
On
that
that specific area.
So
Okay.
Gretchen, that's where for me, and as we know, Jamie and I are very different with our symptoms, but my ankles feel like they're being sawed off all day long. That someone has got a saw and is going through my bones, and I'm wondering, like, I'm so afraid of foot drop. I'm like really afraid because right now I can still like walk, and I use my cane out in the world more so that people kind of leave me alone, get out of my way a little bit, but also if I lose my balance, obviously then I'm not on the floor. But that my ankles, like I'm really excited. I need this because like I'm sitting here right now and they are burning, right? They're at like an 11 of pain. So I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I like about red light therapy too is there aren't any negative side effects. It doesn't get hot enough where you're going to experience heat intolerance. For
Right.
most people, you either notice a positive benefit or no benefit. So I like that. I like when it's those two and not
Yeah.
a negative side effect. Christina, though, for burning or really any type of sensation in your feet or your hands, one thing that you could try is putting your one foot or both feet in a bucket or Ziploc bag of dried rice, sometimes feeling different textures. So dried rice, you'll feel like the dull side, but then also the sharp edges. And let me just share, it likely might feel worse before it feels better. But when you do that for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, it can actually wake up the nerves a bit. And so it can lessen any abnormal sensations, burning, tingling, pins and needles.
Okay, so I was the other day, and I have to say this because I've never heard Jamie said this, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about this. I had to go out to the yard to get something, and the little pebbles. The pain that I felt walking out there without my shoes on, I literally had to lay on the ground and scooch myself back to the house because I could not put my feet on pebbles. The pain, I've never felt pain like that. I thought I was being like stabbed to death. Is that something like with the rice? Like, is that something it's like feeling the pain to get past the pain. It's like when you have a sunburn and you get into a hot shower and it kind of makes you get over the pain of
A little bit
that's a
like
very
that, yeah.
70s thing to do.
Yeah.
Just get in the
It's-
hot bath.
It's called a desensitization exercise.
Mhm.
And the way that it works is you basically make it sensitive, but then and you keep it sensitive. And eventually your brain is like, oh, okay, this isn't actually causing me, like, this isn't a threat. I'm okay. And it starts to lessen. So it does
Mm.
often make
Mhm.
the tingling worse or the burning worse just for a little bit. And then it'll start to lessen because your brain is understanding, oh, okay, I'm not being shot right now, or I'm not literally stepping on nails right now. Like, this is okay. And then that's when the sensation can improve.
Okay, I'm doing that. I'm doing that today, later.
Yeah.
Great advice. A couple of people wanted to know about testosterone. Because I've heard of men that have been on high doses of testosterone treatment and have noticed a difference in strength. I know they can be trickier with women. Have you seen in any of your research anything about testosterone?
So, not a whole lot. It did get brought up at the menopause lectures that I went to, and you can get testosterone patches and in different forms of treatment, but what I know of it was mostly in reference to hormonal changes during perimenopause or menopause, not just to get more muscle. So I haven't seen anything on that.
Okay. Some people really wanted to know about sometimes having to prove that you're dealing with a disability. I know I've had to do that on airlines sometimes, like asking for pre-board and they're like, "But you look fine." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But I have a disability."
We
Some
love when
peop
people say that, Jamie, don't we? Do you even have MS?
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
just
seem like you do.
it's
Sorry.
very hurtful. And sometimes people get it from their doctors, their employers, from insurance providers. So I know this may feel like a big ask for you to, answer this question, but I imagine with all the people you talk to, have you run into this with other patients?
Absolutely. I would say 90% of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think one thing that collectively we've decided is that practicing something that you can say that helps you feel confident, but not like you're oversharing, like you feel good about it, that just is to the point. Practicing that so that when it happens, because usually you're caught off guard. So when it happens, you've rehearsed this and this is what you can say. For a lot of people, having a strategy like that, not that it makes the situation any easier, but you at
Right.
least aren't like fumbling for your words
Yes.
and then trying to defend yourself, which you shouldn't have to do anyways. So
So I
thinking
shouldn't
in
just start
advance.
drooling.
Yeah.
It's kind of this happened to me recently, and I kind of just wanted to start drooling
Yeah. I mean,
and like noodle
Show
down
of-
to the ground. Just
Yeah.
noodle.
Well, because especially when your symptoms are invisible, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't look like you have a disease. And so
Yeah.
therefore they assume nothing's happening. So
Right.
yeah, which I like Christine said earlier, like sometimes just carrying a cane just so people know. But
Yeah.
even then you can get the judgment too.
Yeah, but that's really helpful. I think rehearsing statement empowers you, makes you feel like you're ready with your answer, you're confident in your answer. I think that that's really, really great advice.
And drooling.
Or drooling. I'll do one last question here before we wrap up. And I think you touch on this so beautifully, like I said, and your Instagram page in particular. More than the wonderful and helpful exercises that I'm constantly saving every time I see them, is more being able to articulate what it is like living with MS. Like fatigue is not being lazy. It's not being tired. It's, the way that you are able to explain it. I think a lot of people are wondering, like, what do you say to family members, friends, whoever it is that you're around that says, like, just push through, just keep going. And when you physically know and feel like you can't, is this another
Wah.
opportunity for you to sort of rehearse a certain statement? And what can you tell the person that's living with the chronic illness or the MS, like, so that they don't take it as an attack and can understand and have more compassion?
Right. Yeah, this is such an important one. And one thing that I've noticed about fatigue in particular is that loved ones, spouses, family, friends, whoever, they, even though they know you and they know your MS, they assume that your fatigue is the same as their fatigue. And therefore, they know what you're feeling. And if they can push past it, you can push past it. And I see that all the time when I'm doing an evaluation with someone, they come with their husband and they'll say they have fatigue and the husband will be like, well, yeah, but let's talk about other things. Like we all have fatigue is literally what they'll say. And it's like,
No, I love when I say something to a friend and they're like, "Ugh, me
Yeah.
too," and you're like, "Nope,
yeah,
not you two.
yeah,
I love you, not you two." So
yeah.
back
Yeah.
up, sister or
One-
brother or someone. Not my brother, but or my
Yeah.
sister. People.
And yes, this is another example where it can be really helpful to have something that you've rehearsed in your back pocket to share. Usually what I like to share is something short and sweet, and it might be something like, your fatigue is because you had a late night or whatever it is in that specific
Yeah.
situation. My fatigue is because my nerves aren't working and it feels different. And it is different because, and that truly is what is happening. When you have MS, your fatigue is a completely different severity level. It affects you physically differently, mentally differently, and it just isn't the same. And it's because it's affecting your nerves. And they won't understand that. They won't understand like what it means because it's affecting your nerves, but it at the very least will tell them it's a different cause, and therefore it's a different outcome. It's not the same.
Yeah, I feel like I get a little annoyed but
Oh, yeah.
obviously I get annoyed more than anybody around these days. But I get annoyed in people that have known, me since this started. It's like, please don't compare, like, and I don't want you to know. I don't
Mhm.
want you to have what I have. Like, that would break my heart if you had what I had. But please don't sit there and go like, I totally get you're tired. Your
Yeah.
feeling of tired. It's like, just go, man, I'm so like, I'm so sorry. That's it. Just say I'm so sorry you're going through this. And that makes
Yeah.
us feel better. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's something your page really does too, Gretchen, is like really lay it out there for, family members and the people that are around us to deeply understand what we're going through, because sometimes it's hard for me to be able to even express, and sometimes it just feels like an uncomfortable conversation. So, like, MS community, if you're feeling like you can't tell your family and friends what's going on, just send them to Gretchen's page. Like, she has so many beautiful, eloquent ways of just expressing what we're going through.
And I think it really comes down to the why behind things.
Right.
And I'm just fortunately a person where I like to know the why for anything, but especially when it comes to MS, and understanding why something is happening can help other people understand that this is different. And yeah, I published a book not too long ago, and so many people messaged me saying, I gave this to my husband or I gave this to my sister, because they found that that resource helps other people understand what they're going through, which is equally as important, because those people likely are important people in your life, and getting them on a closer page to understanding what you might be going through can be really helpful.
Yeah.
I just recently went through like someone actually leaving my life because they didn't get it. It was like I wasn't changing quick enough to
Yeah.
do all these like things that I'm not physically able to do. I mean, I feel like I have this fantasy in my head that I'm going to be able to do all these things, but literally someone left my life. And I mean, I think that happens a lot. And with our listener emails, we get that a lot.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking
Yeah.
that
It
when
is.
people don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is not everyone wants to hear the why. Not everyone really cares. Like, it's really, really unfortunate, but they expect a certain version of you. And if they're not getting that version of you, then,
Yeah.
they're not going to be pleased. And I mean, that's awful, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also, like, feeling understood, I can only imagine, is good for the nervous system, right? It just makes you feel calm. And those are all states, right, that we need to be in to really thrive.
Yeah. And that's what your podcast does for people. So
Yeah.
I so
Oh,
appreciate you
thank
guys.
Thank you. We're
Well,
trying.
as we're wrapping up, Gretchen, can you give a glimmer of hope, inspiration to some of our listeners? What is your greatest success story that you've had with a patient, if you don't mind sharing, or just one? Just to remind everybody out there that change is possible, even if it's small. It will make such a difference in your life, and that you're worth fighting for. Like, this doesn't have having this diagnosis doesn't mean that it has to just all be done.
Absolutely. So, and honestly, like 50 stories flood to my mind. So I'm like,
I'm
which one's going to be
sure.
the best one?
Oh, sorry to put you on the spot.
I've got a good one that I'm going to share, because it's one person who has experienced a lot of success, and others have experienced similar phases of success. So this one client in particular, when she started working with me, she was mostly using a rollator, mostly using a wheelchair and then a rollator every now and then. And through our work together, she would walk around her area that she lives with her rollator. And that was a huge improvement for her. And then she was actually able to move to trekking poles, and then also to no mobility aid. And not only that, but she went to a wedding with her spouse and was able to dance at the wedding. She was able to get my heart's like racing as I'm sharing this, because it just like makes my heart so happy. She's able to get dressed without falling over, which
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have MS, it sounds like
Oh my
silly,
gosh,
right?
yeah.
But that's
No, it's not
huge.
silly, guys. We topple. We
Yeah.
topple.
And I think one of her most recent successes that I really love has nothing to do with her physicalness, like walking on uneven surfaces or things like that, but it's her confidence. She fell, and it was unrelated to MS. She just was being clumsy. She was going to sit down and she fell off of her stool. And she said that she didn't panic. She knew she could get up off of the ground, and she did. And that to me was like, oh, that is huge, because like falling can be so fearful.
Yeah.
And then you're stressed, and then you can't get up, even worse because you're stressed. And so just knowing that you have built enough strength and balance and functional movement so that if a bad situation does happen, you're going to be okay. I just thought that was so motivating. So that was just one person, but we have
Thank you for
lots of
sharing.
those.
That's awesome.
Well, you're such a blessing to all of us in this MS community. And could you tell us all the ways that people can find you? You mentioned your book, The Missing Link, or Missing Link, right?
Yep, Missing Link.
Missing Link. And how else can people find you?
Yeah, so I also have a podcast called The Missing Link. A lot of me is The Missing Link. My website is missinglink.com. Everything is spelled MSING link.
We
And
like a play on the
Yes.
the spelling because we got the M's and the S's. As
Yes, yes. And then I've got my Instagram page, which is Dr.Gretchen. And then, I'm a visual learner, so I really like my YouTube page as well, which is Dr. Gretchen Hawley, where I can demonstrate visually exercises and strategies.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing all of this incredibly important information. I hope everyone listening feels as inspired as we do and as hopeful as we do. And thank you for also just like dumbing it down for all of us in all of the ways so that we can understand what's going on in the world when it comes to MS and the research behind it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We
We
adore
love
you.
to close this out with a quote. And normally I pick these cards, but I'm not at home. But I researched a quote that I think encompasses you and what you do. It's a very simple one. It's from Winston Churchill, and it is, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And I hope you feel as fulfilled and loved as we do with what you give us.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Gretchen.
Thank you so much. And so
And
it is.
so it is. This show is executive produced by Christina Applegate, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and Allison Bresnick. Our audio engineer is Josh Windisch.
And if you want to show us some love, don't forget to leave the show a rating or review.
Hi, it's Jamie. Thanks for listening. I just want to let you know I am a paid spokesperson for Novartis, but this podcast is independent from my collaboration with Novartis.